He black. He black. You know how black people, they don't like to take care of stuff right away. They'll let it go on and on and on and on and on. Where if you're white, you take care of it right away before it get worse. But blacks will let it get worse. And then you have to force them to take care of it. And when you force them, now they mad.
I started there early for voting the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning. I believe that Hillary Clinton is one of the best in our history to enter the Oval Office. Good morning. Sunday morning.
Pelosi is a sick woman. She's got a lot of problems, a lot of mental problems.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
She'll cut your head off and you won't even know you're
Oh, please. Have mercy.
No. Good morning.
Sunday morning. Welcome back, guys. What is the name of the podcast?
He black, she white.
Exactly. Let's
Welcome
get it
back.
right. So sorry to the other day for those that watched the video that Latoji put up online saying that she was the black one. That's completely incorrect.
I am
as
the
you know.
white one.
Yes, and I'm the black one. I mean, just a quote from Prince this week. I've been making my house quake with the re-release of Sign O' the Times, which is one of the more iconic albums in his discography. It's an album that feels very eerily relevant to today. You know, at the time it was made, there was, I believe Reagan was in power in the United States, and there was an epidemic of both AIDS and also drug culture and gang culture that was starting to become a bit more rife in America and particularly as well across the world. And when going through the album, for what probably is like the 100th or 200th time for me, because just to give some context,
Super fan.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a hardcore Prince fan, part of the Purple Army, as they say online. But what was strange to me is I was never really a Prince fan until 2007. I saw this huge poster nearby Woolwich Waterfront with him and his cymbal guitar, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that? That looks pretty sexy." Like, not just, I'm not saying he was he is a sexy motherfucker, to quote from one of his songs, but it was more that I'd never seen anything quite like that. So I tried to think.
That was around the same time that you saw him in.
Yeah, this was all at the O2. Yeah, so this was a couple of weeks before then, and then I found out that it was only £31 to see him, which is ridiculous considering, you know, most big superstars charge upwards of about 50, 60, sometimes £100.
Yeah.
So
he was cool.
He was super cool, and I ended up literally after going to one gig of the 21 nights with my mother, we ended up going 9 other times to that same series of concerts. And all I can say is it is kind of like a religious experience when you go to see Prince. Like, regardless if you are religious or not, you come out converted. not so much with the religion of what he was talking about back then, because he was a Jehovah's Witness before he died, but more
just like you get entranced by his music, his persona.
He's got multiple personas. He can play pretty much every single instrument. So anytime you listen to a Prince album, he's recorded the drums, the guitar, bass, like pretty much everything you're listening to, he's had some form of control of that. You know, he was a control freak in that sense. But I only mention this purely because for years Prince didn't have a website. Like he said famously, internet was dead around the mid to late point of the 2000s. Even though he was one of the pioneers of the internet, he was one of the first
Didn't the internet start in 1993?
What, the internet?
Yeah.
I could.
So
you
how
could be correct there.
How could he say it was dead?
Well,
why?
He was one of the first mainstream artists to use the internet specifically to market to his audiences. So he created a website. What the first one was called Love for One Another. Which was kind of like a charity-based thing where they would sell tickets and merchandise and stuff. And then to the earlier part of the 2000s, he created the MPG Music Club, which was a very specific online music membership thing. It was all done on Flash and stuff, where you walk into a massive house similar to Prince's Paisley Park complex in Minnesota, and you start exploring different rooms, and there'd be unreleased tracks, radio stations. Oh, wow. You could even, this was
like a whole experience.
It was like a proper full-on experience, and I think he won the Webby Award for it in the early 2000s for this. But one of the more specific things was that in the 2001 to 2002 years, he had a gig called One Night Alone, pardon me. In this tour, if you were the members of the MPG Music Club, you get to come in 2 hours earlier than the general public and watch a sound check. Then you see the real show, and then if you get like the information first, you'll be getting information to go to an after show. So in theory, you could be spending a whole day with Prince.
Yeah.
And what he would do, which
was the point,
which was incredible, like, and there was no barriers between him and the fans, particularly back then. So after he'd do a sound check, sit in the audience with the guys and start reading scriptures and just having discussions with people and vice versa. So
was he trying to convert them?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, there is rumours that people in Minnesota received knock on the door with him and Larry Graham.
Maybe he started like
trying to convert on
underground
doorsteps.
Jehovah's Witness church.
Yeah. Well, Kevin Smith also was hired to film a documentary that famously never come out, because with Prince he'd start lots of things and they'd just end up in a vault. And like he was hired to film some footage of the fans listening to the Rainbow Children, which was the Jehovah's Witness based album. And famously didn't have any tape in the camera, but couldn't tell Prince because he was Prince.
Look, we all know Prince is Jehovah's Witness. And I'm sitting there going, Prince is a Jehovah's Witness? Since when? Now? Because he didn't try to sell me a watchtower once.
In Prince's world, he only really understands Prince's world. So he could call up and be like, yeah, I want a camel at 4 a.m. And no one could actually go, that's not physically possible, Prince.
Yeah.
But it's like, why? Why can't I have this? So anyway, the reason we mention this is because I've seen a growing trend in the Prince community that is quite scary, at least to me anyway, because everything has become way too politicized these days. And I'm guilty
Did he
want
to be a political figure?
I don't think so.
Or used for politics?
I don't think so.
Some could argue that some of his songs
are very political, like Money Don't Matter Tonight, and then also, if we're getting a bit more recent, Baltimore, which was a song which was to do with the death of might have been Trayvon Martin, I think specifically, and a couple of other young black kids at the time.
I thought Prince was dead by then.
No.
Okay.
No, he did a peace rally in like early 2000s, 2004, 2015, which was, I think that was at the time where it wasn't as radical as it is now, Black Lives Matter. It felt like a much more like homegrown movement that it was just normal everyday. Well, I could be wrong here, but from what I understood, it was like normal everyday folk getting together saying this isn't acceptable, or vice versa. Just
trying to, speak up and be like, you know what, we've noticed a growing trend of unarmed black men being killed, and we just want to talk about it. Yeah, and it wasn't as radical as it is now.
Well, let's not get it wrong. I mean, there has always been throughout history examples where you can make a case for that if you want to, that there's been police brutality against specifically the black community.
Should we just say minority ethnic people? Because not just the blacks. Come on. I feel like that is now, it's not black and white. There's other races who've been marginalized as well, and also targeted by the police.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, like, I'm only going from a cultural standpoint. So, like, I know, for instance, if you listen to hip hop music, Tupac is rife for references to do with police brutality and things like that. And even like the LA riots, which was to do with Rodney King. There are movie stuff like Gook, I think it's called, which is a slur for Koreans. It's directed by Koreans as well, which is really interesting. It's all shot in black and white, and it's from these two Korean kids that run a shoe shop. Okay. And I think their father's like dead or something, and they have this little black girl jump school and hangs with them. But this is at the midst of when the riots started. And then, if you know anything about the riots, the blacks would attack anybody at that specific time period because they were angry, whether that's good or bad.
Happening at the same time, like
whether that's
right
good
now,
or bad is up for debate. But you see it in the film. Like there's a big Korean dude. He looks intimidating, but he's really a soft heart, and he's a singer. He wants to be like Nate Dogg and sort of stuff like this. And he's walking to go to the studio, and these people just rob him up because he's Korean, because he don't understand they say he don't understand the culture, and he's just trying to copy the blacks. And it's an interesting film because, like I say, all of the people in it are black and Korean, and it was a film made in LA, like a few years ago. So it's oddly relevant to now.
Yeah.
Where's I going
Just
with this?
on that note, do you feel like there is a this is not part of what we're talking about today. We will have a discussion about that coming soon. I think next week's episode.
Yep.
But do you feel like certain cultures do intertwine because of their shared experience, shared reality? Like, for example, you're saying this movie was Koreans and black people grew up in the same area, but then they're accusing the Korean guy of trying to be black. But then one could argue that he's not trying to be black. He's just, that's his kind of culture because he's grown up in that area.
Yeah, well, I had the same thing myself. Like when I was growing up, I was massively into hip hop culture. I did this like constant couple of years. I'd change styles. So when I was
black.
when I was 8 or 7, like I was listening to dance music and pop music and all that stuff. And then eventually, when it got to like the last part of my primary school, all of my friends were getting into hip hop, and then I naturally went into hip hop and garage and stuff.
Exactly.
And when I get into something, I get into it like hardcore.
Fully.
So I started to get Echo Unlimited tracksuits, academic tracksuits, Lot 29 trousers with like Daffy Duck and Sylvester and all those people on them. And you know, so I knew the culture as good as anybody else.
It was your culture.
Yeah, but
so it's not like you were trying to appropriate it.
No, definitely not. But at the same time,
we need to discuss.
Like, there were back then like people would call white guys that were doing that thing wiggers. So this whole white privilege thing and all that, it's become like the new slur in my opinion for people that may like certain things that maybe they shouldn't because they're white. I don't know. But yeah, I'm going off topic. But the reason I mention this is because with Prince, there's an infiltration. It's happened 3 times now since over the last year for me. Like, I think some things there needs to be no politics involved. Like people come together through like that love of music. You know, so when you go on these groups and people like talk about that Kamala Harris loves Prince, and you sit there and you go,
what was the point of it?
Why is this in this group? Like I know there's an election going on, but this is absolutely irrelevant.
So are they trying to say all Prince fans must vote for a certain party? Yes,
that's what it comes across as. And then eventually that person deleted it because there was an interesting discussion that happened. But then someone else said, I really like this side project by Prince called The Time. And there's a song on it called Donald Trump Black Version. And it's about a guy who is like Donald Trump in the 90s. And the very first thing...
Before Donald was even in politics.
Yes. But the very first thing that came up was that I can't listen to this album because of the name of it. And like the comment section...
Wow.
And the comment section was like, you all understand, right, that, you know, a lot of black people in the 90s love Trump. A lot of hip-hop stars modeled themselves off of Trump and the wealth and all of this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying, like, you know, everybody did, but... the fact that you won't listen to a song because the name Donald Trump is the title of the song, there's a serious problem. And again, the guy deleted it. And it wasn't me telling him to delete it.
And
this interesting discussion happened.
Groups.
This is
for
all on
Prince
Facebook groups.
Fans.
All on private Facebook groups.
Prince fan groups.
And then this week as well, Dr. Funkenberry is someone that was instrumental in the late part of Prince's career with getting news out there for the fans. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I would say this example was almost like the picture of the artwork of Pink Floyd's The Division Bell, which are 2 people on opposite sides trying to talk to each other, but they're not connecting.
No.
So I basically...
They're just not understanding each other.
No, exactly. So I saw a picture of him basically had 2 T-shirts on. This is the guy who runs it, Dr.
An orange one and a black one.
Yeah, the first, which are peach and black are colours defined with
orange.
The Sign of the Times album.
Yeah.
And one of them says, albums matter just like Black Lives Matter, which was something Prince said at the Grammys when Beck won for, I think it was Morning Light. I think it was Morning Light, the album of the year. And then for some reason, the next T-shirt was Prince was black. Now this is going to sound contradictory, but yeah, Prince was black, but he wasn't pure black. He was half caste in that sense, or mixed race.
That's not to be PC.
No, I know. When I said it, I thought, ooh.
Not to be PC, but that's not a term we use.
Okay.
He was mixed race. He also had some Native American in him.
Yeah.
That I know.
Yeah, so and then a lot of that Latin American stuff comes out in later albums. So
Yeah.
But besides all this, I was sitting there thinking, like, Prince back in 1987 when he was interviewed by the MTV said, "I grew up in a white and black world,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be judged by the color of my skin. I want to be judged by the quality of my work." And when you look at that through the gaze of what Prince has said,
Yeah.
you start to unpick a lot of the whole thing around Prince. Now, nobody's trying to say that Prince didn't have blackness in them, because of course he did. Like, even if you watch him interview, he goes into full ignorant black guy sometimes because he's playing up to the black audience. But to claim
Also, like, he's just picking things from his culture.
of course,
Come on, guys.
and he's gonna have people like that. But then
Yeah.
I spoke to someone last night on a Prince community, and they were like, Prince was colorist, and I said, "What does that mean? I've never heard that before." And he was like, "Well, he'd have black band members, but he'd find them and things like this because of some form of systemic racism within
Wasn't
their culture."
he trying to just empower people in his community? Come on,
Well,
like,
it wasn't just that. Prince was a control freak, so there'd be times where if you come to an audition and you're not dressed to go on stage, he wouldn't rehearse, he wouldn't do anything. He'd say, "Go, I don't want to do this," because you're not, like, the way you operate in my world is that we could be on stage 2 minutes from now. I don't want people taking
so why
pictures of
then
you not
call
in
him a
costume.
colorist?
I know, but then this will lead into what I'm about to say. So they also said that he fined people that made mistakes. This is true. He did find people that made mistakes when they were doing band rehearsal and stuff, but I don't necessarily think that has anything to do with race. That's just him being a perfectionist and wanting to get the best out of people.
Exactly.
And sometimes it can be of a toxic environment because Prince was very demanding.
Also, sorry to cut you off. His band, was it called The Revolution?
So he had multiple bands. So
the one, The Revolution.
Between 82 and 1986, well, yeah, I'd say that probably it's around that time. It was Prince and the Revolution.
Okay, so if you
Then
look
it
at
became the new power generation.
if you look at photos of the Revolution, their aesthetic is very Prince-like, isn't it? Like
it's
with
quite new
hair.
wavy, and
Yeah,
there's lots of other elements. It's a bit like Sly and the Family Stone. If you go all the way back into the 70s,
but I mean, so if you
where it's
didn't
people
fit,
of all different colours.
if your aesthetic, not your skin color, just your aesthetic, like your style, your hair, all of that stuff, and your funkiness.
Yep.
If it didn't fit Prince's aesthetic,
Yep.
what he wanted, then he was not going to have you with him on stage.
And also Prince, once he made something up in his mind, that was it. Like,
Exactly.
he would not go back on that.
So it was not about color.
It was never about. But then, like I said, we don't know. We weren't there.
Well,
but I just
we
feel
were not in his mind.
no. But I don't think it is so ignorant to claim that he was colorist when he's one of the most successful black music. And I don't like defining someone by
He's
their
just
color.
a musician.
But he is a musician.
Success. Think about it this way. How would you describe Michael Jackson? Because he was black and then turned white.
Yeah.
How would people describe him? Was he a white musician? Was he a black musician? People just say he was a musician.
He's a king of pop or something.
Exactly. So then
it's a
why-
quote from current modern music, you must not listen to Michael Jackson because he supposedly raped children, even though the evidence is very grey.
That's
And
the
it was
thing,
cleared
though.
twice in jail. Not jail, sorry. It was cleared twice in court.
So, innocent till proven guilty. Anyway, point is, though, we don't describe Michael Jackson as any color or race or whatever. We don't define him by that racial quality.
No, it transcends
But I think it's also because of, his decision to change his skin color.
Yeah.
So I don't know why people just don't touch that. It's a sensitive area. Then we come to this Dr. Funkenberry. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Where he says Prince was a black musician.
Which he isn't.
He was mixed race. Let's
Yeah.
just say that. But these days, though, everybody who is not white is put under the black label, though.
So this is what I said online. So I put, Prince said he didn't want to be defined
Did
by
you
the
take
colour of
screenshots?
his skin. Yeah,
Yeah, good.
I'm just reading it and I'll put this up on the edit.
Okay.
Prince said he did not want to be defined by the colour of his skin. Not sure why you feel he should have been defined by that one characteristic. And I mean, this is me making a bit of an assumption here, but I still think it's a valid point. Keep your political opinions away from the man's music, which is true because over the years they have had this terrible tendency, the Prince estate, to start racializing things. So the greatest example was not too long after Prince had died. Spike Lee made a film called Blackkklansman, which I don't know if he realizes what he did in that movie, the director.
I haven't seen it.
So there's a scene where Stokely Carmichael is talking in a small community of people who are, I guess, under the sort of Black Panther movement, or just regular black people. And this guy who's black goes undercover with the cops. He is a copper, basically, as someone who wants to be infiltrated by the Black Panthers.
Okay.
And every time like Stokely Carmichael's talking, you get these very weird operatic shots where it looks like people are being indoctrinated. There's no ifs, no buts about it, but he's shooting it like it's a great thing. And it's so weird when you consider the fact that as the movie goes on and the story becomes about the fact that on the phone he talks as this white guy. Okay. Which is an interesting concept, to infiltrate the KKK. And then they get Adam Driver, who's a great actor, very good actor, fantastic actor.
He's in Marriage Story, right?
Yeah, Marriage Story, Girls, and Blackkklansman, and even Star Wars. Yeah. And then he goes in as the person who's on the phone. Oh. Yeah, because obviously the black guy can't go in there because they'd have to paint his skin and exactly and all this stuff. And this is a very interesting concept, and some of it is supposedly based on a true story. Now I haven't read the original book, but I've only seen the film. But then being Spike, and just because he is, in my opinion, an undefined racist, and if all you have to do... Oh,
apparently you can't be black and racist.
You can. Anybody can be racist. I'm sorry. I think this myth that, because black people were enslaved supposedly, but it doesn't matter about all the other people throughout history that were enslaved. You know, it's just black people supposedly. But either way, you know, this whole thing that one person can't be racist over another is nonsense. But he is very racist. You can go through all the things that you see online and through old interviews and things, and he is outright just blatantly blaming everything on the whites. I think you're the first person I've heard to say that. I love Spike Lee as well. This is the irony. I love Spike when he isn't preaching to me. So like Jungle Fever, great film. Because there's subtlety in it. Like, you know, the blacks don't like the fact that he's with a white girl, and the white girl's family don't like the fact that he's with a black guy. You know, so there's things like that I like. He Got Game, I quite like. I like 25th Hour, which I think is an incredible movie for any director to have in their filmography. Yeah. I don't like Do the Right Thing, which is his most iconic work. Because again, as much as I enjoy the film, the message of the film, I come away thinking, so I'm meant to sympathise, and I could be wrong here, but this is my reading. I have to sympathise with people that have attacked innocent Italian people for no reason. And it's not because I have caught Italian in me. It's just, the blacks have been riled up, so it's okay. They can do what they want. They can do whatever they want. And that's not acceptable.
Which is what's happening today.
Well, we can talk about that another time. But this is what... So these are the comments I got after I called out Funkenberry. Yes. So someone else called Denise says, maybe you should back off Funkenberry's page. No one is making you come here. No, you're right. No one is making me come here. But I choose to follow him because I have over the years. Exactly. And then and this is me again. This going back on Denise. Let me guess. Because I have a difference of opinion, I have to leave. Prince spoke about connecting on our similarities and not our differences. And that's why I put that at the beginning of the podcast, because that is again specifically linked to Prince. Yeah. Everything I do is one big Prince reference. Tattoo. Exactly. I said people like Funkenberry, who were instrumental in representing Prince in the later years, are now engaging in divisive rhetoric. It was bad enough when Spike Lee used Mary Don't You Weep to provoke further racial lines. This is just another in a long line of examples where Prince's work is being used to divide rather than unite. And excuse me, with the reason I put that is because going back to Blackkklansman, at the end of that movie, for some reason Spike gets it in his head that we're going to put Ferguson riots at the end of this movie, put Trump in there as well, and try to say that actually nothing has changed, which is absolute bullshit. And the song Mary Don't You Weep, by the way, was never a song Prince actually recorded to release. Oh, no, he wrote it, right? No, it's an old gospel hymn, basically. And this album that came out after he died was in line with... it was a tour he did before he died, which was called Piano and a Microphone. It was literally just him and a microphone and a piano. That was it, nothing else. And some candles. And they unarchived from the archives this tape that a lot of Prince fans had over the years, which is him in a studio with an engineer, like he'd do pretty much every night, just on a piano. And one of the moments in that tape is Mary Don't You Weep, after he sings like a few moments of Purple Rain.
Yeah.
It was never ever meant to be released. But yet Spike, being Spike because he loves Prince, and I like the fact that he likes Prince, but other than that...
He takes the song
and does something very wrong with it.
People are using his work now to just create division, guys.
Yeah, even
wrong.
when Trump went to Minnesota and did a rally, he came out to Purple Rain as a tribute to Prince.
He is in Prince's hometown.
And then what do you think happened? The state come out, issue a long ass statement saying we do not endorse or allow for someone that is this hateful to do. Prince stood against all this.
They can allow then people who are trying to create division on the other side to use his music. That's the thing. It's so confusing because another commenter said this. Said Prince wanted to be honored for his music, not his skin color, right?
Yep.
And then somebody replied to her. I found this interesting, so I took
Freddie Gray
that.
was the person that died in Baltimore, by the way.
I don't know that. So somebody replied to Veronique and said, "We honor people for their skin color. Okay, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It is what it is. I think it's under control."
If he was robbing banks, you would call him black. I found that interesting. And then Veronique replies and says, color is not a quality. Right?
Which is interesting because when you apply for a job, you have to state what colour you are.
Yeah.
Which I do think, by the way, I would like that scrapped off of job applications.
Yes,
I just think it does the opposite effect to what
Yeah, just
do.
Look at my skills.
Yeah.
Anyway, but what do you think of that though? Like for real, if Prince was a bank robber, they'd be like, that bank robber who was black. And
no, but the Prince would never rob a bank because he's too small. I mean, can you imagine if he goes into fucking a bank and you hear his heels going on the floor,
Lord.
and they're like, "Give him the money."
He could use his guitar to just stab them.
To be fair,
I don't know.
I used to have a microphone that was shaped as a gun in the 90s, where he'd do this, which is quite cool.
Yeah, that could be scary.
Yeah,
I'd be like,
is that a gun in your pocket, or is that? It'd say Prince for him with that. Can we be both?
Can we not go there? Okay, but no, for real though, there are people who are arguing that Funkoberry didn't do anything wrong,
which is fair enough. I think we were both wrong in assuming each other. Yeah,
like there were assumptions thrown on both sides, but at the same time, there were people who were commenting like in your favor, saying like he's right, like this is just not right, this is wrong. There are gonna be people here who are, who have opposing views. You know what I mean? They're gonna be independents and like people who are conservatives and liberals and all of that stuff. They all come here to enjoy tributes to Prince, not to find racially charged statements like which are just very divisive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there was a person who commented and said, ooh, Dr. Funkenberry got his own subtle protest going on. So it's clear he was doing something. And this person says, I see you, absolutely 100% get it and love it. So he claimed that you were seeing what you wanted to see. But then it's obvious that people saw what he was trying to do.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like, come on. And he claimed, I'm not saying anything here. It was just so interesting to read the whole thing.
And didn't he also try to say he wasn't a Democrat or something halfway through?
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Very weird.
Because one of the main debate, the last thing on this, one of the main debates that was set up throughout that whole thing was that, someone said BLM isn't a political movement, and I laughed.
Yes. Oh,
I laughed because it is a political movement.
Can I read that statement for you?
Please read that.
And so this person
go on.
says, okay, first of all, BLM is not political.
God bless
It is not a law or a campaign slogan.
It is.
It is a cry for help when unarmed black men and women are being killed by the police without consequences and accountability. And it is as simple as that. And to say keep it away from Prince is BS because he wrote a song about Freddie Gray and had a whole concert in Baltimore dedicated to him.
Which I mentioned a few minutes ago.
You don't have to leave for having an opinion, but I suggest you take several seats and think before you assume Prince's stance on racial inequality. Hold on, she put Prince, a black man.
See again.
Stance on racial inequality because in Prince's own words, if they ain't not just, then there ain't no there ain't no justice.
There ain't no justice,
peace.
no peace. But basically,
sorry, she said she did not write this.
So
properly.
let's put it that way. That last section, Prince doesn't even actually sing that bit. It's the girls in the band at the time, basically mirroring what the chants were. So Prince didn't actually say that. On a technicality, that's not really true. But when
somebody else said it.
Yeah, but like it says
wasn't
here,
his song, but it was somebody else that said it.
Timothy Porter, like you made the assumption that I'm being political. Sign off, get a life. Be about an election and politics piece. So again, the fact that I have a massive Prince collection in my house, the fact that I spend money every time a Prince album comes out or buy Prince clothing or anything, I shouldn't have an opinion basically because the fact that you did make something
because
political.
You're white.
Yeah, well,
that's
he's white
basically
as well.
it. No, I know, but like the black people who are very, he's on our side. He's an ally.
Yeah, this ally thing needs to die.
Gonna attack you.
This is a terrible thing to start calling people. Why can't we just be people? That's why a few days ago on the He Black She White podcast thing on the website Facebook, we put a video that we came across of, which was about it was written by a black guy. It was a poem where he was trying to say that the entire problem with the world today is that we are giving labels to each other and being forced to divide things on the basis of manipulation. Yeah. This is all part of that, and the reason I'm so strongly against what they're doing with the Prince community is because Prince never said, "Oh, you all have to be black to come to my concert." He never made like a massive thing about this being a political statement to come to the gigs. It was all about putting that shit at the back of the door,
and
coming in and just closing your mind off and just enjoying peace, love, sex, everything in between. It's just, I don't know. It's very disheartening.
It is.
But anyway.
Yeah.
So do you feel you're labelled by your colour?
A lot of the times in the black community. So when I'm among other people of other races, to be honest, some of them do think I will react in a certain way when they say something, or maybe think I like a certain kind of music. Just because I am black.
I like what you said last week about the type of music I listen to is marketed to black people.
Yeah. So
what kind of music is... You still never answered that question. What kind of music is...
I am indie rock.
Yeah, I know that. But what kind of music is advertised to black people?
Like hip-hop, trap, rap. Funny thing is I like the song by Wale. It's my guilty pleasure. It's Wale and J Balvin.
Okay. I know of Wale, but I've not heard it.
Oh, I'll play it for you after this. It's a really dirty song. It's got like Spanish in it, like not Spanish, European Spanish. I mean like Hispanic Spanish, which is just super sexy. But like it's such a dirty song, and I feel so bad when I listen to it. I'm like, oh, I need to be clean, Jesus.
That's because you're a good Christian woman.
The Lord gave me a big penis, cock, a big one.
Well, you better use it right.
Oh, in the Christian community, they'll be like, oh, you listen to music with like lots of swearing and stuff.
Oh, you listen to Cardi B.
Like, come on. I know a lot of people who be on the pulpit teaching you about Jesus and swear.
Certified freak. 50 days a week.
Oh, Lord.
Her pussy definitely ain't as wet and as good as she's claiming because she's just got a divorce. So
oh, yeah.
How about
Cardi
that, Cardi?
B.
So she was wiling out to Candace Owens and now... Candace Owens kind of looks...
I don't mean to laugh about the divorce.
Nor do I. But Candace Owens now is pregnant, has a husband, has got a book that's out, which, by the way, people just try to destroy at the Amazon headquarters by smearing it with Vaseline.
No, but then apparently someone told me...
That's not racist.
And I know this person is going to watch this podcast and be like, ha, likoji.
But
somebody told me like, ooh, you post stuff about Candace Owens when black people have cancelled her.
So what if they've
I know.
cancelled her? Does that mean her opinions are no
Again, there
longer
we
valid?
go. I'm being judged by my label that's been given to me by society of you black. You should not be listening to Candace Owens because black people have cancelled her.
Although there is a large consensus of people that follow Candace. So it's not just black, but there are even people in the Trump administration that look towards Candace Owens. I mean, they even have a section in the Trump administration
Do you think
called
she's
Blacks
going to
for
run
Trump.
for 2024?
I'd like to think that, but I could never see it happening.
Why?
Why? Not because she's a woman or anything. It's more that
I'm kidding.
I don't know. My gut has always said Kanye will be the president of America in 2024, and he's already started this softly. Like, obviously, the whole thing he did recently is a political stunt to test the waters.
He's still doing it. Have you seen he's been posting on Twitter?
Of course, he's pissing on his Grammys, and he's having like a lot of
he's putting like a lot of
behind
religious
the scenes
imagery.
things. Well, that's because of his Jesus
with
album
like,
that came out.
Yeah, but like all of the figures are black. You know what I mean? Like, so he's saying something like, "This is who we were," and look, okay.
And also Kim Kardashian signing bills with Trump to do with letting people who were arrested with like weed and stuff like off things like this, which is a good thing. I think realistically, if you eliminate, you know, the sort of the massive drug war that they've had in America, where they're just arresting people for small nickel
things.
bag and stuff like that. If you actually legitimately legalized it all across the different states and stuff. Hopefully the whole, you know, drug culture that is in the black community as well as other communities would die.
Yeah.
It would just like be going to buy like calms or
Speaking
bananas.
about that, about how people get arrested for like little, you know, 5 grams of cocaine. There is a video that came out telling people to go take their booty to the pole.
Oh, yes.
Get your booty to the pole, 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 yeah. Stretch.
For information on how and where to vote, go to getyourBootyToThePole.com.
Get your booty to the pole, get your booty to the pole.
Get
And I
your
was just
booty
like,
to the pole. Get your booty to the pole.
Basically telling all these drug dealers like, go vote because people are not going to put you in jail if you vote for them.
But the whole thing when I was watching that, I thought that not only is this setting back black women by about 25 years, but on top of that, this lowest common denominator nonsense. I mean, let's be realistic. Like when we grew up as kids, 50 Cent and stuff used to have like the PIMP video or Channel U after 11 o'clock at night would have these very sexualized hip hop videos and stuff. But I'm not sure a political campaign should have
that.
Women popping their pussy in front of the camera, like, you know.
Take your booty to the pole.
Yeah,
Twerking, like they were using these poles, stripper poles. They were strippers.
Yeah.
And then they're all
and
like...
and to be fair, all of them do look like real nasty pigs, except for one of them. Like they don't even get good looking black women.
I think except for 2.
There's like
the
one
with
or
like
two.
The short blonde hair was cute.
Yeah, the flat chested one was really hot. But like that.
What are you trying to say about big boobed girls?
No, nothing wrong with the big boob girls. I love me some big boobies, but on the concept of that video, it's just like, it's like going, how can I put it? It's like going to a freak show back in the 50s where you'd go, come step right in to see the man with unibrow.
Oh, like The Greatest Showman kind of situation.
Yes.
Do you know that happened in real life though? They got a South African woman, Sarah Baartman, I think, and she was paraded around the United Kingdom, France, and everything because she had a huge, but like Southern African women.
I believe
have, like,
it. But then there was also ones where there were women that had like hair under here and beards and stuff. So, you know, that was the culture back then.
Yeah, but it was so wrong.
If it's wrong or not, like people, it was simpler times. Like, you know, people would go to that stuff and be like, oh, okay, that's weird, then go home. It was never like, we've got to write 100 million essays on how wrong this is for people.
We should actually
and stuff.
talk about that in one episode about how comparing like the times today, because I know like you always say like you wish you were born earlier and stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
I wish I was born earlier, but it depends where in history, because then in some places, like as a woman, I would not have a voice, or as a black
Some
person
women
as
don't
well,
have
they don't have voices
still to this day.
Still, and so we should do a podcast about that.
Definitely.
But talking about this, I like what you said about how that get your booty to the pole. It's so low, and in my mind, I'm thinking, what are these politicians thinking of black people?
Who funded that, by the way?
Oh gosh, we need to find out. But let's tie that into another topic that we're discussing today, which is like the classes, socioeconomic classes. And you watched a film called Manors that you've told me about several times.
But then we also saw the Haine, which I think would be good to talk about the Haine first. But we'll talk about that in 2 seconds. But you just reminded me of something. Like, let's say we were born in like different periods. For me, I would like to have been born in the 70s, which is the most disruptive period of history. Like, you know, Martin Luther King getting killed,
Wasn't it the time of the
getting
hippies?
killed. Well, the hippie movement were on its way out. There was a sexual revolution happening, but at the same time, you know, there was some nasty political things happening across the Vietnam was building up, and you know, all this sort of stuff. But anyway, that's beside the point. I'd have loved to have walked down New York when it was grimy. Like, there's prostitutes on every corner that go to see like the movies that I still watch to this day, which are considered nasty stuff, like a Cannibal Holocaust or Maniac on a double bill somewhere in like the 42nd Street. I would have loved to have seen Pink Floyd, the Wall Tour, which is an incredible production that should have had more shows. But then taking aside all the cultural things as well, that I get to see all the good Prince gigs as well that I missed. But
that's the only
real reason. But no, I think at the same time as well, like, it would have been great to have gone to the Berlin Wall after it had been knocked down.
That was at the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
Or the start.
Yeah, and then also a lot of the culture back then.
I forget.
It was the 80s. Like, a lot of the culture back then is stuff that our culture has not gotten over. So we still are obsessed with Star Wars. We're still obsessed with Ghostbusters. We're still obsessed with all of these like properties that were created in the 80s. So like Blade Runner, and now you've got a remake of Dune coming out, which was I think it was late 80s or early 90s. But that's beside the point.
There's nothing original these days.
Well, it's like the original stuff doesn't get funded, and the stuff that does get funded are like often reboots or
stuff that was already successful.
And then they try to make it different, and no one likes it. You know, like Ghostbusters, the all-woman one, which was trash.
I have not seen that.
Or the new Star Wars, which started promising and then went to utter poo. But
what did you think of Ocean's, the one with the women?
Why did it need to be made?
Yeah.
It's like what they're now doing with the Fast and Furious films.
What is it?
Michelle Rodriguez has demanded that they do
an all-female one.
Fast and Furious.
This is, for me, it's like being given breadcrumbs.
It's like here's a hand.
You know what I mean?
Hey, you want to have a black comic book film, guys? Here, you know,
let's
we'll
give
make
you
Black
Batwoman.
Star Wars. Yeah. Oh, we had a lesbian woman.
Lesbian.
We had a woman who was a lesbian as Batwoman last year. We're now going to make her black. No explanation.
Oh yeah, she just flipped. I don't know. She just woke up black. Like, you know, there's this disease. I don't know if it's a disease or I don't know what to call it, but it's like vitiligo. I don't know if white people suffer from it. Because if you guys suffer from it, you just become super, 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 super pale and almost look like, what are they called? People with no melanin in their skin. I forget.
Hang on.
Doesn't it start with an A?
Yeah. What is it?
What's it called?
What is it? Jamie XX has a video of all of them dancing around. I can't think. It's on top of my tongue. What is it?
Yeah.
What is the fucking thing? I can't remember.
This is so dumb of us. How do we forget that word?
This is what we mean. When you unplanned shit, like, goes to poo-poo.
But at the same time, it's good because funny thing is nobody talks about them. It's always, black, but they're killed. Do you know that they're killed in Tanzania because people think like if you kill them and get parts of their body and you go burn and do stuff and chant some things, rituals, like they're gonna be healed from diseases and like, I don't know, get rich. It's like witchcraft stuff.
Get rich or die
They're
trying.
called, what are they called?
Chinese? Look at all those chickens.
Name an animal with 3 letters in its name.
Alligator.
5 seconds, Mr. Marsh.
All right, I'd like to solve the puzzle. Niggers!
Yeah.
Let's talk about
Wait, there was a point though.
There was
a point. Vitiligo, okay, happens like where you lose melanin in the skin, and so some people have, you know, been black, and then they wake up. There's a model like that. I saw a Barbie like that. Yeah, Barbie doll. So
I nearly had it then.
Yeah, it just changes, and then some of them are white all of a sudden.
Yeah.
From being black. So that's what maybe they're saying that Batwoman happened. I don't know. Something like that happened to Batwoman. She was a man, and then she woke up and decided to, you know, have a sex change, became a woman. They didn't put that in the story, but they should have. It would make more sense.
I don't know.
And then she had vitiligo.
The whole Batwoman show was an absolute disaster, you know.
She had vitiligo.
So this is what the modern day feminism is, okay? So you hear about feminism all the time, but, you know, realistically, feminism is cancer, let's be honest. But when you get to like...
we don't cancel stuff on this show.
Well, no, I said cancer.
Oh, cancer.
Cancer.
Okay.
It's not about cancer, like cancel culture.
Cancer.
Is cancer. Thank you very much.
If you want to look at modern like feminism, look at the Batwoman show. So you have a woman who breaks into Bruce Wayne's house, who I think is her cousin, then steals all of his shit, takes his identity, and then goes...
The suit is literal perfection.
It will be. When it fits a woman.
Oh, come on!
Cringe.
The whole thing was vomit-inducing, but besides the point. So we saw Haine.
Yeah.
And it's been re-released.
Good film.
Oddly,
amazing film.
Yeah, it is a great film. It still holds up to this day. And the thing that holds up with it is it's not an agenda-driven movie.
But it was released with an agenda, don't you think?
Currently it does. But the thing that's great with Haine is it's very grey areas. Like who is good, who is bad, and like are the characters really doing themselves any favors with what they do? I mean, there's people that help them get out of situations, and then they get themselves into more situations.
Great character development, I should say.
Yeah.
Like I really liked the growth of those three friends. Like to see from where they started until the end of the film.
All set in one day as well.
Oh yeah, that was very interesting. It was just one day.
But that can happen.
Yeah,
you can have a day with your friends, and something can
change
kick off
mind.
and completely change things. But the thing that's really strange with the Haine watching it is, for a movie that's shot in black and white in the 90s, the subject matter isn't very black and white.
No,
it's very, very confusing to sort of be like,
you don't know
what
whose
is the
side
message?
to be on.
Because you're not meant to. I don't think you're meant to. I think at the beginning you're meant to be with the kids, but there are things that they do that make you go, well...
We will tag all these films we talk about in the description of this video.
Definitely.
Just so that you can go see them if you want to see them, guys.
Yeah, and
you should.
And the great thing with it as well is that the person who you think when you start watching the film, the black guy is going to be the one that causes the trouble. He isn't actually the one that wants to cause the trouble. It's actually the white guy in there who feels that he has to.
And it's all sparked
prove
because
something because everybody around him have been to jail, and the fact that one of their friends is in hospital after being beaten up by
and he's
police.
not black, he's not white, he's Arabic.
Yeah.
And what I liked was also the two friends, Vince and the other guy. Vince was a Jew, staunch Jew.
Yeah.
Like, well, maybe not him, but his granny, and his friend is a Muslim.
And it's fine. They coexist.
It's fine. And the third guy, what's his name? Hubert.
Yeah, Hubert.
Is black.
Yeah, he's black.
Yeah, and you don't feel, like the way even race was used in this film, you don't feel like it's racially charged or they're trying to make assumptions of a specific race or blah, blah, blah. Nothing. These are just friends who come from the... What do you call it? The banlieue, the suburbs.
They call them the suburbs of France. Now, when we hear suburbs, we think it was like really nice white houses and Desperate Housewife territory, but it's not. It's
not in France.
Full-blown grey tower blocks, very rough.
Isn't it like what people call the council estates here?
Yeah, it is essentially very rough council estates.
Yeah. This is a good segue into Ill Manors.
It is very good. But I think both of these films have a similar core message with them, and I think the reason why, say, like an Ill Manors and La Haine are films that actually will stand the test of time is that they're not specifically for one culture.
No.
Anybody can watch these films,
And
enjoy them for what they are, and take many
relate.
different things with them. Like, for
They're
instance,
relatable.
with Haine, like you watch it and you go, there's a reason they've re-released this, which they've clearly tried to say that this echoes the George Floyd thing, and it's not that at all, because that whole catalyst for that guy being in hospital is only over like that small of an issue. Like the things that work with it is there's this balance of humor and there's all these other things that are going on. But in the case of like Ill Manors, the thing that's very different with Ill Manors is there's multiple stories taking place in the same area. So, and they're all kind of anchored with narration by Plan B. And Plan B, the reason why I think Ill Manors is better than, say, a film like Blue Story is because it's trying to create a wider picture of what's happening in local impoverished areas.
Yeah.
Where it's saying that, you know, a lot of people, they don't see colour. This is specifically with what you're saying. They are coexisting because they are working class.
Exactly.
That they are from like families that are either
united.
broken or are like in similar situations where they're on the breadline.
Yeah.
And with Ill Manors, even though some parts aren't successful, the thing that really works with it is the music element of it kind of anchors the backstories, and they create these wider pictures of what's going on beneath the surface of the scenes. Whereas if you look at something like a Blue Story, the reason for me it doesn't work as well is because you're watching these dramatic scenes of which are specifically about black people, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. But there were people who were in Peckham gangs and Greenwich gangs of things weren't just black. There were Asians, there were whites and stuff like this. There was just I don't know about the Italians, but there were different.
There's everybody.
Because basically it was postcode orientated. So if you were caught slipping in one district, you would get beat up because you were in their district. You know. But with Blue Story, he uses the narration, musical moments, almost to reiterate what you've seen, which doesn't work.
Okay.
Because realistically, I've just seen what's happened, and every time he comes in and does like,
and he tries to explain to you,
it's like, yeah, I don't need it. Like
why it happened the way it happened.
Yeah. Whereas with Ill Manors,
that's a kind of weird film.
It's not as good. But then we have had movies like Blue Story in the past, like One Day, where it was a terrible movie directed by a white woman who had clearly gone into like Birmingham or wherever, somewhere up north, and thought, oh, I like the fact that these blacks can rap. I'll make an entire movie where all they do is rap musically through scenes. And it's terrible. But what I'm trying to get at with it is this goes back to...
concept.
This also goes back to that video with Get Your Booty to the Pole, because it's like someone is looking at something as an otherworldly quality. And it's almost like what's the word that I used when I wrote a dissertation about Japan? This Orientalism thing where you're not looking at them as equal, you're looking at them as different, and they should be treated as different.
That is
and
very
this is
philosophical.
a massive problem. This is a massive problem because when you advertise it, so let's put it this way, I'll talk about specifically Japan. In the late 90s, we got a whole heap of horror movies and weird films from Japan that were advertised on their extremity and how weird and quirky they were. And then for years since, we've had distributors try to change the image of Japan by releasing more quieter films, more action-based films and musicals and things like this to counterbalance the national image of Japan. So if we were to look at, say, like Haine as a French film, we could paint with a broad brush and go, okay, France is all like that because there's a massive problem with the police stuff. But then you could watch another film from France and it wouldn't even address
like
the same
L'Homme
issue.
Fidèle, which is about love.
Yeah, so I think realistically, we do need, and this is just my opinion linking it back to film, we do need to stop recreating and regurgitating these same images, because essentially what happens is younger generations watch them and then they're like, oh, that's life, you know.
Or they'll be like, nothing's changed.
No, nothing's changed and nothing will change. Why can't we have films where, say, a black person is, I don't know, an astronaut? I know there are movies where there were women, like Hidden Figures, where they're in the background stuff. But I mean, why can't the main character just happen to be black? Or why can't there be...
And not in a forceful manner. Like, don't, like...
It's not the specific reason that the story's written.
For example, I know people have their different opinions about Black Panther. Others love it just because it's a black character or whatever. I have my issues with it. Especially when they their fake African accents. I am African. I do not sound like T'Challa. That accent, I don't know where they get it from, because it is not African. I refuse. Anyway, my point is,
I haven't seen it, so I can't comment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a DC guy.
My point is though, Black Panther was a black superhero. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a white superhero that they turned black. So that's why I love it. But then you come and you see Into the Spider-Verse, and Spider-Man is a black boy. Guys, I know Peter Parker is white.
He white.
You know what I mean? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You're going to confuse children. Like, no. Make superheroes who are black. Make superheroes who are, Indonesian or Aboriginal. Where are the Aboriginal people? Also, I like Moana because she's an South Pacific Islander character. She was not a white one turned black. So like Ariel, for example. Ariel's white and now they're making her black. Guys, let's just make a new character who is black.
Well, it's
in
not
my
even just
opinion.
that. Why can't they coexist in the same universe? Why can't they? So say with Spider-Man, why can't? Because I'm probably going to be owned in the comment section for this because I haven't seen Spider-Man movie since The Amazing Spider-Man, which was
Andrew.
Andrew
Garcia.
Just
What's his name?
Garfield.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say Garcia.
But no, that's a different film. That's Godfather territory. But yeah, like why can't a boy in the local community just happen to get the same situation that Peter Parker went through, and then then you have to write a way where the two characters coexist or work together or something.
Exactly.
Why does it have to be that he has to take the suit?
Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
It's not even a racial thing. It's just it really feels degrading because it's like, hey, blacks, look, I know you're calling for equality right now. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna give you this character. Take it.
Turn black.
It's like what was that? The Guilford Girls. They've made that all black.
Gilmore
now as well.
Girls.
Yeah,
is it? No, the Golden Girls.
Yeah, the Golden Girls. Why is
they're
that
meeting
even
for
a
one
thing?
night in Las Vegas, and Tracy Ellis Ross, who I love, she's funny. Yeah, isn't it? And they're black now. Like they just turned black. You just woke up and became black. By the way, I forgot. Tinkerbell from Peter Pan is black. It was announced yesterday. They've turned her black.
But this is
Yara Sahidi, who is an amazing actress. She's mixed race. She's Iranian and Black American.
So she's not
together.
black then?
No, but Tinkerbell's been turned black.
But she's not black then. She's mixed race.
Yeah, but no, it's still not fine. I feel like there are other fairies. Maybe make a story. Like, it's nice if maybe they expand the story a little bit and say, like, oh, Tink had a friend who, they flew wherever from Africa or another planet at least.
Tink.
Yeah, Tink.
That's a nickname, yeah?
Tinkerbell, yeah.
Hey, yo, Tink.
Do you not watch
Tink, come
Disney?
here, man. I got something for you.
Listen, I'm a Peter Pan, fairy dust, all of that kind of thing, girl.
Yeah,
so
that's a slightly paedophilic Peter Pan.
No!
Just FYI, do some research.
Okay, fine. But point is, they turned Tinkerbell black. I don't mind. I'll watch it. But guys,
more for you.
It's just breadcrumbs. I am not satisfied. Make characters.
I am black. I'm not oppressed.
I am not oppressed. I'm looking in the camera and I'm saying I am not oppressed.
Where's the chains?
Sorry?
Where's the chains? Where did you leave them before coming to the show? Yeah.
I've never had any.
No, it's disgraceful. I'm going to call
if I had
Boris on the phone.
If I had chains, they would be gold.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Actually, no.
All the glitters ain't gold. Prince reference.
There would be copper because my country is like a big producer of copper. There would be copper. And then with like, I don't know, gold engraving. Does that make sense?
Yeah, engraving.
I don't know, like they would engrave it and then inside
we're
there.
recording on the Lord's Day right now, so when I hear engraving, it sounded like gravy, because I'm thinking about roast. So a white man.
Well, you
thing.
said the Lord's Day. I thought you were going to be like, I'm thinking of church. Churches have opened here, by the way. Okay, sorry. Continue. What were we talking about?
I just think about gravy. Anyway.
I think about praising Jesus. You like food.
Hallelujah. You know what comes next.
Oh, Lord.
That's going to make a comeback. So what we're going to deal with on the next episode, because I don't know.
Ooh,
This kind
okay,
of
so this episode we've kind of been giving you guys little.
It's more like colorism. Colorist.
Yeah, because our next episode next week is a BLM round table.
All taking place on Zoom. Hopefully, no one will get killed on there, like in the film Host.
No, it's gonna be amazing. So it's gonna be TJ and me hosting a panel of some people that we know. Black people, Hispanic people, white people, American people, and non-American people. You know what I mean? And so we want to hear every perspective. So there are going to be people for BLM and who justify everything they're doing. And there's going to be others who are like,
bring
you know
some
what?
Antifa on as well. No, I really am.
But then there's also going to be the white perspective of why should white people feel guilty for being born white? And then we have a Hispanic voice as well, which is an amazing friend of mine. And I want you guys to hear what she has to say, because she comes from a society where some would claim that her people have, you know, oppressed Black people, but at the same time, they're oppressed as well. Other people also look at her and be like, shut up, you pass off as white, so you have no say in her own community. So I really want people to hear her voice. And a Black American friend of mine also who, you know, comes from a line where they've had slavery in her family. So
everybody who's got OCDs are going to really cringe with the clicking.
Oh, right. That's me clicking. I didn't think about it. Oh, sorry.
I'm going to put parental advisory at the beginning. Clicking.
But yeah, so come back next week, guys. BLM is going to be, the round table is going to be amazing. Amazing. So it's
amazing.
So come watch that. This episode is leading up to that. You know what I mean? We may have gone like round and round in circles, which is good because
this is where stuff on the cutting room floor comes into play.
Those are the best kind of conversations, the ones that don't end, right?
Well, we have to end sadly on this episode now. So thank you guys. Arigato gozaimasu, and we'll see you next time.
Yay!
We're done. Woo!
I need to go pee.
I'm leaving that in.
No.
I need to pee.
I am so proud. The happiest day for me this week was to support Joe Biden for President of the United States.
Oh, God.